Welcome to this episode of Digital Dialogs with Gururaj Rao and I. I am your host Vinayak Khadye. Before we begin with the podcast, here is a brief introduction of Guru and I. Gururaj Rao is a well respected professional with more than 2 decades of experience in CXO roles in banking, financial services, and insurance companies in India. I have more than 2 decades of experience in leadership roles in consulting, insurance industry, and also as a founder of a startup in edtech space. In Digital Dialogues podcast series, Gururaj and I go beyond jargons and buzzwords in the digital world and bring to the fore the true meanings of these terms. We discuss models, methodologies, technologies, case studies, architectures, challenges, and issues associated with digital initiatives which can help you as a decision maker. In our last 2 episodes, we've discussed digital transformation where we have covered what digital transformation means. In this episode, we discuss how organizations go about implementing company wide digital transformation initiatives. Today, we are going to discuss about digital transformation in terms of how actually organizations can go about, undertaking such an initiative. Uh, it can be also very accidental, like you are as an organization you are responding to a particular situation in terms of a specific initiative, which could be offering certain tech enabled services to clients or your customers, and then you realize that in backend certain things can be fixed, and that can lead to multiple initiatives and projects. Okay, but that not necessarily leads to a complete transformation. It can help organization deliver specific business objectives through that projects. But Guru, when it comes to uh, a digital transformation, okay, I remember at least in insurance industry, uh, for one of the largest insurance, one of the largest Indian insurance companies, the CEO came and said, uh, new CEO joined the company, and then he said that he's going to undertake a transformation initiative. Incidentally, when this happened, it coincided with the so-called digital transformation period, and then they undertook a major transformation program within the company, probably assigning 100 to 150 crores budget, and undertook multiple initiatives. So that was a fairly orchestrated and coordinated transformation initiative program. Okay, so if one has to really undergo such an initiative, then obviously there are 4 or 5 factors that come to my mind, and then we can discuss about them today. One is, of course, the drivers. Okay, so why you are actually undertaking that initiative? Okay, when those could be external drivers, internal drivers, in terms of driven by your competition or your own business targets, etc. So drivers are fairly important. Then goals. Okay, what specific aspects, okay, or objectives or targets that you've set for yourself. Okay, uh, from a from the program's perspective. Then third point is the strategy and roadmap itself as to how you're going to implement this plan, and as part of this, then obviously you will identify multiple initiatives. You will prioritize those initiatives. You will establish a structure, and then you will have some kind of financial budgets to achieve that. Okay, what do you think? How should organizations really go about such a large program?
Uh, yeah. When we discuss about how do you go about a business, a digital transformation of the business, uh, and why would you do that, right? First thing is to set those objectives. You know, as you said right at the beginning that something getting accidentally noticed, and then you start off the journey. That may be just one way of happening, but the other thing certainly is that when you have structured reviews of um, legacy businesses, incumbent businesses, or whatever, even then you would have external factors, internal factors, which will tell you uh, how to trigger off a transformation journey, leveraging information technology developments that have happened. So when we look at the objectives, whether it is with regard to the business strategy, new customer segments, new products, new channels, uh, you know, various, things, your improved services, improved quality of things, whatever. Uh, all those would be your business strategy goals. And how do you achieve that? So when you start thinking about that, certainly information technology advancements will come into picture and will trigger off a lot of thoughts. So, you know, and then of course, like any set of initiatives, any roadmap that you have, you will have milestones, you will have a staggered approach to taking up things. Uh, so here we are talking about a set of goals, a set of initiatives to achieve that, and how would you go about achieving it, planning it. So it could be again, just to reaffirm, the triggers could be external, could be internal, but when we talk about digital transformation, we are talking about the leverage of information technology developments that have happened. It could be for internal stakeholders, it could be for customer interactions, customer servicing, customer acquisition. It could be for the supply chain, your suppliers, your um, partners, all those. uh, how do you work with all of them with better and better leverage of technology? And in some cases, some regulated industries, these could be also to meet regulatory requirements in terms of controls, in terms of risk management, in terms of overall reporting, all that. So that's
True.
what I would say would be the context of starting off a digital transformation journey.
But let's say, if one is a CXO responsible for execution of such a program. Okay, I mean, obviously, uh, he or she is going to face a very mammoth task, because there are going to be multiple drivers, there are going to be multiple initiatives, and in such a scenario, I mean, are there, I mean, anything that comes to your mind in terms of a methodology or an approach, okay, to decide, you know how one should go about execution of such a program?
Yes, we should not be, as the EDM goes, we should not try to bite the entire elephant in one go or boil the ocean in one go, kind of a thing. Uh, the digital initiatives have a lot of ramifications, and hence it is necessary to take well defined chunks, defined in terms of objectives, in terms of the implications, and how are we going to allocate the organization resources for the same. That's one. The second thing is also the impact in terms of change management. How are we going to bring in the change while keeping the business as usual? Because when you want to leverage technology, you are indirectly triggering off a business process reengineering. You are saying that some processes will get automated, some will get eliminated, some will get modified. And when you do that, you are also implying the changes in the human interventions that are going to happen in the processes, the human skills required for the processes, and hence the roles are going to get modified. Roles are going to get modified. Your, the output management is going to get is going to modify in terms of quantity, quality, timeliness, everything, and accordingly the structures, org structures would also change. Hence, the ramifications are cascading. So it's necessary to define the pieces or the projects and initiatives accordingly. Say, this is my goal, These are the implications, and this is how I'm going to manage them, and then take them forward. And one of the most important factors for every incumbent organization is also going to be the resources that are required in terms of financial and the people and all. Does the organization have the budget? Does it have the financial strength to implement those changes? Also, as a strategic view, consider whether it can afford not to implement it, because it's not able to afford to implement it. But can it also afford not to implement because there is competition, there is changing customer preference and all. So that's how, you know based on these parameters, the organizations will have to define the initiatives and take them forward. It's very important for the organization to see initial successes to provide confidence to the various stakeholders who are getting impacted, and hence it's necessary to keep the steps small, measurable, and practically implementable. No point in just having some theoretical large exercise which will go on and on.
You made a very interesting point here, essentially demonstrating success to the organization, because most of the times, senior leadership comes and talks about big initiatives, big programs, and then people within the organization in lower levels feel that, yeah, it is one of those programs, it will come and go, and nothing really is going to change, particularly large organizations with huge legacy, and cultural baggage that they carry. So such kind of negativity is very commonplace about any new initiative, whether it is a technology initiative or otherwise. So I think that there you make a very interesting point, and I fully agree that uh, uh, you need to have quick wins. You need to have small, probably it may make sense initially to have smaller initiatives, which are quick wins, which can demonstrate to people what the outcomes are. So, and those outcomes from that, from these initiatives, need to be measurable and very specific. That was the point that I was actually looking for, in terms of not necessary. I mean, obviously, in some case, particularly, when I remember during my initial consulting days, when ERP projects used to be such large transformative initiatives, because ERP meant that multiple departments, okay, and functions, processes within the organization would see computerization from existing manual processes. So and then large organizations typically would have multiple. In addition to having multiple departments, multiple processes, they would have multiple SBUs, multiple product lines, etc. So one of the approaches. I mean, there were two approaches those were taken. One was incremental, in terms of implementing the initiative in phases, okay,
Hmm.
and second was big bang. So depending cultural, there was no right and wrong approach, but depending on the suitability, the resources, organizations opted for incremental or big bang approach, okay. So yes, I think you make a very valid point that similar kind of approach can be taken. Yeah, you
Yeah,
want to
and
say
it's
something?
necessary. Yeah, it is necessary to be very careful about the execution of those initiatives. Whether it is pure technology, whether it is the accompanying process changes, or the people related changes, skill related changes. It's extremely essential to take all of them together and form a coherent change management approach. Um, Otherwise, one going forward, one not going well, again, would not make the organization successful or the initiative beneficial. So it's essential that when there is a program, the program has to have all the components going well together.
Yeah, and another good point that you make is about change management. Mostly IT professionals understand change management as in making incremental changes into the system. But here we are talking about change management as in, you know, managing the change in terms of the working of the organizations. And
Absolutely.
typically, you know, in financial services, probably it may not be a major initiative, because most of the organizations, you know, that we have seen, you know, modern, especially in Indian context, are 15-20 year old organizations. And, you know, from day one, they have, you know, they have been leveraging technology to really meet their objectives, or, you know, business goals. But, you know, when it comes to sort of old organizations, you know,
Mm.
managing change becomes critical. And, you know, again, I would draw upon my PwC experience. You know, in PwC, we had a uh, adage or a rule that we often used to communicate to our clients. You know, sig- uh, uh, signifying the importance of you know, change management, and that was
Mm.
old organization plus you know, new technology is equal to expensive old organization. Because, you know, I mean, you would just end up you know, spending money, but if you don't manage the change, don't make people accept that change, then
Yeah.
it's just going to be you know, that you're going to be a uh, going to be an expensive old organization with a lot of you know, money going just down the drain.
True.
And you know, in those days, you know, we used to have a separate change management track, okay, to all our you know, major mega ERP initiatives, okay. And I remember, you know, we were working on, I was myself involved in one of the projects which was implemented for a pharma company, uh, which was probably started in you know, mid 50s, etc. So it had a baggage of you know, 35 40 years when we or maybe more, for 40 45 years when we started the ERP initiative. And there, you know, obviously as part of their transformation program, uh, the company had resized itself, you know, downsizing, firing a lot of people, reorganizing themselves on the business front. And when they talked about bringing in technology, that sort of created a lot of concerns amongst the, you know, the remaining employees, okay, as to whether there is going to be another round of you know, downsizing. So resistance to change was you know, it was to such an extent that, you know, they finally approached us and asked us as to how, you know, we could impress upon this new program to you know, these existing employees, so that they accept you know, this initiative. And then we decided to actually, in the core team itself, we decided to you know, have couple of people who are like, you know, very senior people, very old people, you know, within certain departments.
Mm.
And you know, in fact, we had to train them how to use the mouse those days. You know, this was about 20 25 years back. And then we used to, you know, make them communicate changes, okay, and also importance of those changes to their respective teams, so that, you know,
Mm.
there was ownership, you know, and acceptance of these changes. So these are some of these things, you know, that organizations need to keep in mind. Particularly, this may not be a big challenge for financial services you know, organizations, especially in the Indian context, because, you know, financial services grew in India over last 20 30 years. But you know, manufacturing and old services organizations, you
Mm.
know, maybe hospitality sector, etc., you know, which have been sort of been around for, you know, 50 60 70 years, you know, digital transformation initiatives can be very challenging.